Hey, everybody, welcome into Roosters on Olentangy River Road here in Columbus. This is Lettermen Live, brought to you by our friends at Roosters. I am Austin Ward. Down there, Spencer Holbrook wearing that really good-looking shirt. Anthony Schlegel, attack and dominate, here to make the difference in our show. And Mike Doss. You guys know these two Buckeyes, of course. And they were probably pretty happy on Saturday to get out of the rain and watch their Buckeyes win 38-7 over the Wisconsin Badgers. Undefeated heading into November and an off date here. That 31-point margin. Somebody got that right last week.
I wonder who that was.
Just
Great job. Great job.
Yeah, there's that pat on the back that I was looking for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that to me, guys, was pretty easy to see coming just because I've been so impressed with how complete Ohio State is. But that doesn't mean that Wisconsin still isn't a very good team, that there might not be a rematch in Indianapolis in a couple weeks. So, Schlegs, start with you.
Okay.
When you look at this win, how much does it mean? How impressive was it to you? How do you spin this one forward?
Yeah, so to me, looking at our offense versus the number one defense in the country, and I actually mentioned this, the reason they were the number one defense in the country was the fact that they held the ball for 38 minutes every game. So if my defense doesn't have to go out there as much, I'm going to have the number one defense in the country because I have less opportunities for people to run the ball on me. Poof, David Copperfield, that's what we saw. But with this team, against Wisconsin in the shoe, you saw the physicality. And the good thing was it just didn't happen right away. That there were some growing pains. Guys had to adjust. They were moving around their linebackers, how they were blitzing from the edge but wrapping guys in the middle. We had to communicate that. And, we gave up some sacks. But ultimately, at the end of the day, as Ryan Day has said, this is a power run spread team. That's what we do. And then you got to see J.K. Dobbins and that offensive line take over a very tough physical Wisconsin defense and rush for 264 yards. Like, that is impressive. That's what wins championships, along with the way that our defense played, flying around, making tackles. The difference besides the scheme and the concepts that we're seeing and the eye discipline that Spence mentioned earlier as we were off there talking was the fact that we are tackling, and you can tackle that way when you know where the ball's going and what you need to do on your responsibility. Is awesome.
And, Mike, you've said this a number of times over the last few weeks that it seems simpler, letting these guys play. I always had a hard time wrapping my mind around that because it looks like they're mixing in a lot more things. Like we saw the 4-4 for the first time. Not the first time, but they really used it extensively against Wisconsin. You had Chase Young with a different personnel where he's stand-up
linebacker, moving around.
Yeah, mixing zone and man. It's like they're doing a lot more, and yet you're still seeing that same thing where they're playing more free, more confident.
Yeah, they're just playing gap assignment football, and that's where they're lining up. Coach Hafley coming from the NFL, he understands gap assignment, staying in your gap, and letting that individual make that play once it hits his gap. So these guys are able to line up, diagnose the offense. They know the formations. They study a lot of film as they talk about. They're in the film room every day collectively as a group, and when they come out and see those formations, a couple of motions, little wrinkles here and there, Wisconsin tried to do, but ultimately it comes down to guys being gap sound, making open field tackles, and as I think our tackle chart right now, I think Malik Harrison is 41, Jordan Fuller is 41, and then it's like Pete Warner 32. Then our next guy is like 28, 29. So, I mean, you got a gang of guys just collectively, right there fighting for, leading the team in tackles, but they're playing cohesively as a group, very sound, making a lot of plays.
And Spencer, you pointed this out to me in the press box when we got out of the rain and into some cover on Saturday that Ryan Day looked a little fired up, a little bit different than other weeks. He seemed to know there was going to be a little bit more tests coming Ohio State's way on Saturday.
Yeah, I think the big thing for Ryan Day was to set the tone. You hear about Wisconsin big physical football, and what did Ohio State do? They out-Wisconsin when it mattered.
That's right.
You had third downs where Wisconsin put the Rhino package on the field, which I thought might be an issue for Ohio State just because of how big those guys are. And Ohio State, they pushed the line of scrimmage back 2 yards, a yard at a time, 1 yard this play. The next play it was 3 yards. And, Chase Young, for all the credit he gets in the pass game and rushing the passer, he was great in run stopping. And, the unsung heroes like you guys were talking about earlier, those guys in the middle, they were impressive. And Ryan Day was pushing guys around in pregame and got them fired up.
Yes,
and
he did. I saw that, and I got hyped.
They showed that I don't know if they needed it, but they enjoyed it. I think everybody liked to see it.
I think that this is a little bit, and I wrote about this even before Saturday, and I hadn't seen him do that or knew that he was going to. I'm not sure that he gets enough credit, Schlegs, as a motivator. Obviously, you know that you've got Mickey Marotti to handle a lot of that stuff for you, but the head coach still has to help set the tone. So he's more than just a play caller. He's more than just a good recruiter. He seems to have a good knack he 2 weeks ago we were talking about the white belt mentality and came up with the slogan.
That's the next article you need to ask him about.
I mean, he seems to have a good feel for this motivational stuff too. Urban was pretty dang good at it, but Ryan Day's maybe not getting enough credit for that at this point.
No, he's not getting enough credit for it because, again, think about this. You're marketing to 18 to 22-year-olds, and you're hearing all this outside noise from the local media and the national media of how good Ohio State is, and you hear about them playing with a chip. And playing with a chip when it's done for selfish reasons, or I got to go get mine, or I got to go prove somebody wrong, is unsustainable. So what you do is you implement this belt mentality. And Northwestern was the white belt. Hey, you're 6-0, you haven't done nothing, right? Go earn the white belt. Laser focus. You got this chip. But here's what this belt thing, again, marketing does. It keeps the kids' vision focused on accomplishing the mission.
Right.
If the mission is the yellow belt, and yellow belt is Wisconsin, it allows for this not to happen. It's called the drift. Because guess what? You never drift upstream, right? Think about that.
100%.
If my entire mindset is I'm constantly going after this belt, I'm constantly pushing forward, I'm never going to be complacent, rest on what I've done, and drift back, because that's when those things happen in the past in a big game and losing to an opponent that you shouldn't lose to.
Right.
And when you have that mindset, you see a 38-7 victory. And the other thing, too, that what he's doing is he's using live bullets to train for things that are unforeseen. That's a 2-minute drill in Northwestern. That's a 55-yard field goal on long grass when we need it. Well, guess what? The first 3 points in that rain, was it 47, 45-yard or whatever?
49.
And he hits it.
Yep.
Right? A 2-minute drill. We have experiences with what that is, and you only get that experience that you can use later when it's live bullets, not just on Sundays when you're doing your walkthrough, and that's how we condition the guys on Sundays.
Schlegel, like you were saying, this team is motivated by Ryan Day, but I think it's important to remember that this 2017 recruiting class has lost 3 games in 3 years at Ohio State and still has not been to the playoff. So Ryan Day's a first-year head coach that has to, prove himself this year. Chase Young, as good as he is, has not dominated in a college football playoff game. Jeff Okudah the same way. Justin Fields is a first-year starting quarterback. So all of the trees are making the forest for this motivation factor, and together you're just seeing it all come together one game at a time. Now you get a bye week, you get 2 more weeks to go, and then you've got a big one.
Yeah, Chase. Yeah. I want you to hit on this, but Chase Young said the brotherhood is only getting stronger. Right, so what does that mean to you? And then I'll piggyback off that, because he said that on national TV,
right,
about the brotherhood and how special it is,
right,
and how it's only getting better. And so what does that mean to you as a former Buckeye?
That means that totally they've embraced the journey. They're embracing the journey. They know that they had a lot of questions coming into the season, and every week they've been building by stacking that up. And they go on collectively. They're looking at each other and going, "I got your back. I got your back. I got your back." And they like, okay, who has my back if I go down? And then they just like, let's go make a play. Who wants to make a play? Hey, you want to make the play? I'm gonna make the play. You want to make a play? I want to make a play. So every Saturday, those guys are looking at each other, going, "Who wants to be the playmaker this week?" And I think it has risen their level of play up, and I think the simplicity on the defensive side. But offensively, if you could see with J.K., he was so hungry to play against Jonathan Taylor. He
wouldn't admit it.
You can see how physical the stiff arms. He's throwing guys off of him.
He threw a guy under the ground.
He's fighting for extra yards. I mean, J.K. was a man amongst boys, and you thought he was our front runner for Heisman. I mean, he's leading the Big Ten in rushing with 1,100 yards and some change now. Yeah. So I could really see that, brother. As you said, the brotherhood is that they know there's a goal at hand, but every week they're chipping away and trying to make sure they prepare themselves.
Let me put it to you this way.
Give it to me.
I've seen Chase Young the last 2 weeks when he comes to the sideline in fourth quarter. This is more at Northwestern than last week.
Yep.
He is celebrating more when Zach Harrison or Javonte John Baptiste are out there making a play than he does when he gets a sack. He expects it of himself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And he's trying to bring these other guys up to his level.
Right.
And you hear the brotherhood every year at Ohio State. This is not like a new thing that these guys are talking about. But this is one of the first times I can remember in 4 or 5 years, maybe since 14, where you can see it and feel it being different.
Yeah, and I think part of that, like in the wide receiver room, and how Brian Hartline talked about their legacy will be on how the guys lead after Johnny and Paris and and McClure left, right? And then you look at Chase and what he's doing, and that brotherhood goes into practice, his competitive excellence. I'm going to make you better, you're going to make me better. And then when we get out there, I expect you to make the play, and I got your back as a team, party on the ball on defense. But here's the thing, that just doesn't happen, and it goes back to your first question about how much we should give this to Ryan Day, because now Urban's not there, it is him.
Yes.
Facilitating that, I've heard that it's a player-led team. A player-led team only happens if it's intentionally placed that way through the coaching staff, through the strength staff, to allow them to buy in and make it player-led. Because if you just said, hey, we're going to be a player-led team, but you're not facilitating and cultivating that culture, molding them into being able to be a player-led team, you won't have the results that you're seeing now.
Yeah, you have to have players who can lead.
Exactly, and you take it back to the voting for captains. I think we got, how many captains we got? Seven, eight. So initially, visually, we go 7, 8 captains. Like, oh wow, when I was there, I had 2 captains. Me 2 defensive guys.
Yeah.
But now, as you state, so as you state, you look at it. It's making a difference because guys want to lead. They're now they're in the forefront. They're naturally pushed out there, and they're pulling guys along. Like, look, this is what we do. What we do in the receiver room. This is what we do as offensive linemen. This is what we do with special teams. If you want to be a part of this, you better come on and get on the boat.
And that's selfless. That's selflessness. Like, we don't have that inherently in us. We are selfish. Like, I want to get all my sacks, right? Like J.K. celebrating with Master Teague. If you think about what Master Teague has done this year, and you look at and you compare J.K. and Jonathan Taylor, like, Master Teague has a lot of reps and a lot of touchdowns. I mean, if you think about it, he's 23 reps less than Jonathan Taylor with basically going into this game with 10 less yards.
Right.
Well, Master Teague has all those yards and all those touchdowns, right?
He's
to put him up in the stat thing. That's why you got to take a holistic view of actually what we're doing, and we're taking him off the field and giving those reps to Master Teague, and he's still celebrating because he is a selfless guy, and he knows that we need the depth, and he wants to celebrate Master Teague.
And Spencer, that's a sign of maturity too. When you look at what J.K. Dobbins is doing and embracing that was frankly not the way he handled the timeshare with Mike Weber last year. We just have to be honest. And part of the reason for what he described as a failure was that he wanted to hit a home run every time he got a carry because he knew that Mike Weber was going to have 50% of that workload. He is different, and you heard him talking after the game on Saturday and for several weeks now. I mean, he understands the benefit now. He understands he's going to have his chance to be the lead back, but that he's not going to do it alone. He's not going to win a national championship alone.
Yeah, he'll take a 3-yard carry, make it into a 4-yard carry. Then the next carry, he'll take a 6-yard carry, make it into an 8-yard carry, and he just keeps chipping away at this defense, and then eventually he gets his home run. Yeah. So what he wanted to do last year, he's doing the same exact thing on 1st and 2nd down. It's just on 3rd down when he gets the ball, he's not looking for the home run. It just happens.
Right.
Because he's being a good, patient runner. He knows that Master Teague is behind him, which I do think helps a little bit. You don't have somebody right over your
competitive excellence,
back.
baby.
Yes,
and it is that competitive excellence. And Master Teague gives a good alternate to what J.K. Dobbins does. But then, I mean, if a defense sees Master Teague 2 straight downs, then you bring J.K. Dobbins back onto the field, that's where the home runs can start to hit even more. Yeah. Because both of these running backs can just wear down defenses. J.K. Dobbins just has a special way of doing it. He looks special when he does it, too.
All right, this is Lettermen Live. It's brought to you by our good friends at Roosters here as we go along here breaking down this 38-7 win for Ohio State. It was funny that the first name that kind of came up for you, Schlegel, was Blake Hobbiel hitting that field goal. But Chase Young, I've been driving this Heisman campaign for a while and had nobody on board.
I was on board.
I know you wanted a defensive player to win, but it was like, okay, it's not going to happen. It might happen.
Gus was giving a lot of love to Chase on Saturday, but Chase showed up, and that's what you want. I mean, you want to see someone as dominant as him, as you stated. Out of 7 games, he's probably played 3 quarters on average at most. Yeah. So to get him for 4 quarters, to see his total capabilities and go out and just dominate, I mean, it was something awesome to watch. It was fantastic as a former player, and he's rocking the number 2. So to see him rocking that,
well, you got 2 number 2s going at it.
You got Dobbins, you got Young, and I see all the 2s in the crowd. I'm just I'm feeling the energy.
They buy those for me. Yeah. No, you know what? You know what's cool about that too is Wisconsin at the beginning, they weren't double teaming him, and then when they tried to double team him, that's when the push in the interior lineman with Tommy Togiai and Hamilton and Jay Sean Cornell, and guys were winning the individual battles, came in. They're like, man, what are we going to do? Well, you know what? We got to give help. This is how we got to do our protection. Boom. Chase Young comes back with another sack or a fumble. And, that's what's happening. It's pick your poison. How do you want to do this? But it's going to set up other people. High tide, raises all ships. Yeah. And that's what he's able to do and why he's probably the number one player in college football is because he is raised, and if you think about it, a 72nd ranked defense in the country to probably number one in the country, and he has done it along with our coaching staff and all the guys behind him.
It's crazy to watch him work. You guys both played in this era with nonstop NFL players on Ohio State's roster. You played with great players.
Yes.
I covered the Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa over the last couple of years. I've seen great players at Ohio State for a long time. Chase Young, to me, he's having the best season that I can remember from an Ohio State defensive
physically,
player.
He's 6'5", 6'6".
He's a freak.
275, 280 pounds. He got hips. He can rush. He has power. I mean, the guy has attributes that's God-given. I mean, what it took was a Coach Johnson. I actually read one of your old articles that you released.
Lettermenrow.com.
Lettermenrow.com about their relationship and how Chase would call Coach once, twice a week and build that rapport so Coach Johnson can motivate him as a junior and say, hey, we had all this preseason hype coming in. We know these expectations, but this is what you have to do to live up to it. Now you got to execute against the run. He's fourth in the team in tackles with 29. So now you got to contribute a certain way. Now you got to teach the young guys. You got Zach Harrison coming in, take him under your wing, show him the way. And the level of play for him at this point is like he's a man amongst boys. He's finally matured physically, mentally in the game. As Schlegel would say, he's playing the game mentally, and a lot of plays that we don't see from sacks or caused fumbles is just that he's giving other players opportunities because the offense has to account for him.
And the number one thing that you said there, too, is that he has a relationship with his coach. It's built on trust, and he believes him. And at the end of the day, when you could take an elite player and say, hey, listen, here's what you need to focus on, even after you're 8-0.
Yeah,
I constantly want to be hungry.
Right.
You're humble. Here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to work on it. And Larry Johnson, guys, listen, he is the best. This is the type of guy that goes to bed at night with his cell phone on his
pillow,
dresser or whatever, and he'll wake up because all he's thinking about is how he can maximize not just Chase Young, all of his guys.
All of them.
And he builds that rapport. That is the difference of what you're seeing in that room and why those guys also want to develop the younger guys because of the relationship that they have with Larry Johnson. And they feel a responsibility to leave this program better than they found it and also help Larry Johnson in facilitating that culture after they leave. It's awesome to watch.
I mean, if between Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, and Chase Young over the weekend, you had, I believe, 10 sacks, 4 caused fumbles and interception.
Bumpy.
Come on. Coach Johnson, if we can get him a raise mid-season, let's get this man a raise because we don't want to lose him. Someone's going to be calling for just calling.
Yeah, are we sure that there wasn't like a Sam Hubbard sack somewhere?
Right, exactly.
We should look.
It's crazy what he's done and what he's built. The guy is a legend, and that's like the story you referenced to us. Like, it is a privilege for me when I get to go in and do some of those all-access stories. Not everyone gets to do it, and so when you have that opportunity to pick Larry Johnson's brain, when he's putting on Chase Young high school footage and breaking down what he saw and why he wanted him 4 or 5 years ago and how much he thought he needed to grow. I mean, you watched Chase Young in high school. He's still dominating people.
Right.
But
he, it was crazy to me. I'll never forget, that hour of education when Chase Young used a rip move in high school, and he was killing people. That was his go-to move. He was a 5-star, one of the best players in the country.
Yep.
And Larry Johnson said, you're never going to see that move again. He doesn't teach it, and he'll never use it here. It's a different toolbox. And guess what? He doesn't use it at Ohio State.
Right.
And he's got the scissors, side scissors, upper arm, all that stuff, the long arm, and it works. So you talk about buy-in. Chase could have continued to do whatever he wanted and rush the passer for 3 years and gone to the NFL. So, no, this is the right way. And look at the results are just insane.
And Lord willing, knock on wood, the man stays healthy. We probably have 3 defensive linemen that go top 3, in the last 3 drafts. I mean, that's what – if you got a talent pool like that. I mean, Mike Mayock was at the game. He was actually at walkthroughs on Friday for the Raiders, and he looks up at Chase Young, and he goes, oh, my God, I didn't realize how big he was in person.
Yeah, that's real.
We're talking about NFL GM. So, at the end of the day, Chase is having a phenomenal season. It's finally great that he's getting the national exposure with the Heisman talk now. But you still have Justin Fields with on 1,700 yards, I believe.
33 touchdowns.
Passes, 33 touchdowns. You still have J.K. Dobbins, all-purpose yards around 1,300, 1,400. I mean, we got a lot of talent. We got 3 Heisman. I don't know how many Buckeyes can be at the Heisman in New York, but we at least got to make sure one of them.
Send them all.
Spencer, what do you think? Will Chase Young get there?
I think he will. I think he does. I think, like you've been saying all day, voters knew they messed up when they didn't select Ndamukong Suh. I think they'll kind of make reparations for that, because if you look at college football right now, you can talk about Tua all you want, but his ankle's hurt. You can talk about Jalen Hurts all you want, but he just had a clunker against Kansas State. Justin Fields doesn't put up the kind of numbers that Heisman voters are going to be wowed by, especially in these next 2 games against Maryland and Rutgers when he plays less than a half.
Right.
You can talk about Joe Burrow, and he's been fantastic. I'm not going to take anything away from Joe Burrow. Name another guy that can lay claim to the kind of resume that Chase Young has right now. And especially his biggest moment this season was against what a lot of people think is the best offensive line in college football.
That's true.
And he didn't do it against Rutgers. He didn't do it against Maryland, although he's going to.
Right.
He didn't do it against Miami, Ohio, which he did as well.
Yeah.
He did it against Wisconsin on Fox, the biggest game of the weekend. Like you said, everybody's eyes were on that game. Every voter knows what Chase Young's capable of now, and if he just continues on a normal pace, his stats are going to be eye-opening enough to where he'll at least get an invite there. He'll be enjoying a nice dinner in New York City.
All right, we're going to take it.
Yeah, not to cut you off, in all respect, when I saw Chase Young in the offseason working out, he said to me, in all full respect, I want them to forget the Bosa brothers. He said it. He said, in all full respect, I love those guys. Those are my teammates, but I want to do something that makes everyone forget them. And he's doing it.
And then the Bosa brothers responded on Sunday by saying, hey, we're still here. We're going to take a quick break, get a word from our friends, our sponsors, and Schleg's probably going to have some mac and cheese bites. We'll be right back to dive back into Lettermen Live here, brought to you by Roosters.
Hey, Buckeye fans, as the official wing sponsor of your Ohio State Buckeyes, Roosters is giving away 12 trips for 2 to this year's Buckeye Bowl game. Each trip comes complete with airfare, hotel, gift bag, and 2 lower-level tickets. 1 bowl prize winner chosen each week, along with other cool Roosters weekly prizes. So register every week at your favorite Roosters or at roosterswings.com. Roosters, a fun, casual joint, and the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Official contest rules at roosterswings.com.
All right, welcome back. Schleg's still going to town on those mac and cheese bites. He can't resist. I know before he even shows up. We're putting it in order. We're putting it right in front of him. Those won't be there at the end of the show. Finish that bite, because we got to talk about linebackers. Okay. So that's going to be you on deck. Spencer, we'll start with you down there. Like, I've been saying this for a couple weeks now, and even back to the spring, that Tough Borland has got a little bit of a bad rap in my estimation. Certainly last year, he had the Achilles injury. Problems with scheme, fundamentals with Billy Davis. We don't need to rehash all that, but he had a tough go of it. I'm not going to deny that. It wasn't a good year for him, but he wasn't physically ready to be the kind of player that he was 2 years ago. I thought Saturday was one of the best games he's played in his Ohio State career, but the linebacking group as a whole, what stood out with you? And then I'll let Schlegel dive into it from there.
What stood out to me was they put 4 linebackers on the field, and they've put 2 linebackers on the field at sometimes this season. And these linebackers are so versatile, each and every one of them. Tough might not be the fastest guy. Pete Werner might not be the fastest guy on the field. But all of these linebackers are so versatile that no matter what system they're put in, unless it's the one from last year, they're
standing at the line of scrimmage?
They're going to be successful. If you let them read what they know, watch a play develop, they're going to attack the football, and they're going to be aggressive with it. Justin Hilliard is the latest example. Justin Hilliard, for as much hype as he had coming in, injuries, was plagued by injuries, couldn't get on the field, goes in, huge play against Jonathan Taylor, makes a tackle for a loss. Tough Borland, all the criticism he got, he's kind of just putting a middle finger up to everybody right now.
I wish that he would. He's like
he's a good dude, man.
Pete Werner after the game said, on the fumble recovery, if it was the first play of the drive, he would have scored. He was a little gassed. And I'm sure people were talking about how slow he is. But these linebackers are flying everywhere. And it's not just Baron Browning anymore like we thought it was at the beginning of the season when he was going everywhere. It's not just Malik Harrison like we saw all year last year. It's all of these guys. And it's just impressive. Top to bottom, these linebackers are so impressive.
Yeah, flexibility is the key to air power. That's a term that they use in the Air Force, and it's meaning, hey, we got an A-10. This is what an A-10 does. We got an F-15, and they can do, air-to-air combat and also give ground support. We got an F-16, we got bombers. You have all these different things. And if you think about it, all of our linebackers are like that. They all do certain things really at a high level. And now it's up to the coaches to be able to use their talents and adapt our defense to having the best 11 on the field. And what you saw is you had Hilliard coming out there playing the fourth linebacker spot on the edge, being able to set the edge, go make a tackle for loss on a play. Guys are playing really, really fast because why? They know what to do. They have great communication, and they're trained at a really high level. And when you see that, you see pursuit, you see tackling. That's the number one thing for me. Guys are tackling. Last year we missed tackles. You miss tackles because you're hesitant about where I should go. So now I'm a step behind, and I got to go dive or reach for a tackle as opposed to being there when I should go make the play. Right? It's a lot easier to shoot my gun and make a play because I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Right? So that's what you're seeing from those guys. But ultimately, it goes back to our coaches adapt to whatever the offense is giving us. Sometimes you'll see 3 DBs and a safety or corners, right? And Sean Wade is a corner, right? But he also plays safety. Or we might have 2 safeties and 3 corners, and we have 2 linebackers, or we're in a 4-2-5, or we're in a 4-4-3, or we're in a 4-3. Like, we have all these different things, and it's all about how are we utilizing the best 11 on the field to go execute against this offense. And then whatever the offense presents to us, we can adjust and adapt very, very quickly because our kids understand the concepts, and that's why you're able to bring back a Chase Young and say, hey, we're going to disguise you, we're going to do this. This will look that they haven't seen, and guess what? They call a timeout. So now they burn one on that. But Chase can do that because he understands the game of football, which is what you need at the next level. It's understanding, hey, there's a hook curl flat player. Hey, I'm playing Tampa 2. What are the weaknesses of the defense? What are the strengths? Hey, here's how I go do my job. And then on the sideline when they got to make a quick adjustment, because I know the concept of our defense, I can go make that real time. Right? Real time. So that's what they're doing.
And Mike, I'm going to throw in one more tackler here because just to get your perspective from the secondary, Damon Arnett came up. He led the team in tackles against Wisconsin. I think it was 7.
With a broken hand.
With a broken hand. Broken wrist.
I know for you, making tackles and big hits, that's part of the deal. But cornerbacks, to see them sell out the way that he did to make a few of those plays, how significant is that?
It's great. I mean, it's his senior year. He knows this is it. He's counting down his last games as the Buckeye, and he wants to have the biggest impact he can on the field. And Okudah and Arnett have stepped up and be very physical in the run game. And I think, again, it's to contribute to the brotherhood. You know, as I stated earlier, the linebackers, you got Warner, you got Malik tied for first with Jordan Fuller. You got Warner third. You got Chase Young fourth. You got Browning fifth. You got Tough like 6, 7. So, I mean, these guys just want to go out and continue to play hard. They want to dominate. They want to show how good they can really be. And they have a chip on their shoulder from last year, knowing that we didn't get recognized. You stated what, 77?
72nd, yeah.
72nd
total defense
in the country.
And what are we talking about?
We got the same players
at
right?
Ohio State.
Right. We got the same players going out this year and making an impact and stuffing guys. I mean, Wisconsin does have the biggest offensive line in college football. I remember playing them back in 2002. The guys were farm boys, just big son of a guns out there. So Arnett being physical, coming up with a broken wrist, he's going hard, and those guys are having a lot of fun. That's what you can see. They're having a lot of fun.
I know not everybody likes the trash talk and Damon Arnett's mentality, but if he didn't have that cast on, he might actually be one of those guys who would say, "Here's that middle finger for doubting me the last couple of years." Right. And I love covering Damon Arnett. He's another one. When we're talking about tough Borland and the struggles. Damon Arnett acknowledged it when he came back. He was 2 feet all the way out the door. He was in Dallas a couple days after the Rose Bowl looking at a place to stay when he was training for the NFL draft. Makes the decision. Everyone is telling him, hey, you're not there.
Yep.
And that's got to be hard, Schlegel, anybody, to hear you're not good enough to do something when you think that you are. But he recognized it. This might feed into your leadership stuff. He took that hard self-evaluation and look at himself that he needed to come back and completely change the way he approaches life, football, everything else.
Yeah, I mean, we all trip at a different time, right? So, like, you look at your kids, you want them to be, you want to push them, but they all trip at a different time. And for him, that was part of that maturing process, right? So, like, hey, you're not good enough. You're going to be a this rounder. Like, why would you leave if you're going to go do that? Why don't you come back and get developed a little bit more, be a leader? And guess what? We're the sum of our life's experiences. He definitely needed that. But you said the word. He's now committed. So, yeah, it's self-introspection. Yep. It's like, hey, here's what I got to do better. Right? Boom. I'm committed to the process, right? I'm embracing the friction. right? I'm committed to the process of being an elite corner and what it takes for me to be at the next level. However, he also understands that by me having by me playing corner on the best defense of the country is only going to help my draft stock, right? Think about this.
Yes.
I was a third-round draft pick because I played in between 2 first-round draft picks. Straight up. Like, that's why, right? I mean, the better we all are as a sum, right, we're going to be that individually.
Yeah.
And so he understands that, and he's bought in. And now he's also been able to learn from Halfley.
That's what I'm saying.
Now I'm bringing NFL experience, and they're bought in.
They're bought in. Exactly.
Totally committed to the process and the friction. And every week I want to get better, not because it just sets me up for success when we're done playing for the season, but ultimately it's because I know that my goal personally is to be in the NFL. How do I get there? It's by us winning a national championship. He calls it the Natty, right?
Natty.
Ultimately, we're going to go to the Natty, right? And that is the goal. And after you achieve that goal, then all those things will happen. And that comes from the leadership of the coaches saying, listen, everything is there for everybody should they want it. But the number one thing you have to focus on is the fundamentals of your craft. Being a great teammate and brother, and then go executing on Saturdays. If you do that, all those dream and aspirations that you have going to the next level, they will all come to fruition. And most importantly, when you step on that field at that level, you will be trained and prepared to go execute at a high level out the gate, and that's what you're seeing from our young guys that go into the league.
Yeah. All right, starting to wind it down here on Lettermen Live.
There is no winding down.
There's no winding down here.
Not for this. I'm not trying to wind down this guy. That's not going to happen. The show is about to come to a close.
All right, cool.
We will keep you ramped up, but it'll be almost time to eat. So Ohio State's got this off day. It's the second one. It's just a couple of weeks ago we were talking about how they would use it. Spencer Holbrook down there on the far end wrote a really good piece, I think, about the 3 up, 3 forward that Ryan Day is using. Probably going to be something similar to that for Ohio State this week. So, Spencer, for anyone who didn't see it at lettermenrow.com, what's 3 up, 3 forward, and you think we'll see something similar to that this week?
Okay, so the coaching staff gave each guy 3 guys they loved about them, things they're doing well, which none of them really cared about, and 3 things they all needed to improve on. And I think it showed the maturity of the team that nobody really cared to talk about what they were doing well. Josh Myers said, he didn't even want to talk about it. He didn't care what they had to say he was doing right. And if the coaches deploy that again, I think it's a scary scene for Maryland, because every guy was so locked in to that list. They each remembered, the things on the list. They knew what they needed to do. Justin Fields pinned it in his locker so he could remember. If I was a betting man, I'd say it's still there. And, these guys know that 8-0 was not the goal. And so this 3 up, 3 forward mentality that Coach Day is, I don't know where he got it from, if he got it from the NFL or something, but he deserves a lot of credit for deploying that, because I think it worked wonders on them the first bye week, the first off week, and it can only do the same thing again.
Schlegs, if you take a big picture look at it, then what do the Buckeyes need to work on this off date and then head into November when you compete for championships?
What do they need to work on? Man, they're pretty damn good. What you saw in I would say part of the pass pro, being able to have better communication, head on a swivel, guy wrapping around, because there's some things that Wisconsin did that people will replicate, right? It's a copycat. They say it's a copycat league in the NFL, same thing in college. How'd you exploit, Ohio State in the passing game and have sacks? You will see that replicated. Penn State will watch those games. Michigan will watch those games, and they'll utilize some of those things. And also, I think dealing with the elements at the beginning to start really, really fast. Now, here's the deal. They start fast, right? I mean, they outscored their opponents in the first half by a tremendous amount. They will continue that, but it's like, all right, in the environment, like this is where this type of week is. If we ever had some type of rain this week, which I don't think we have, let's go outside with your gloves, let's catch balls in that implement. Let's run a 2-minute drill, let's kick field goals, working on those things that are going to prepare them to make this run. The ultimate thing that they have to do is remain healthy.
Yes.
Get healthy.
Get healthy.
Jonathan Cooper. Yes.
Yeah, remain healthy. You got 2 games, and then you got 2 games, right? But ultimately, the best thing is that these coaches are locked in. It's like accomplish the mission, earn your belt, on to the next, right? This week, here's 3 things that you need to get better on. And then really what they'll do is they'll probably say, okay, here are the last 3 things that I gave you 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. How have you improved upon them in this short time frame? Okay, I saw it again this week. Here's what you're doing. Your eyes aren't up. You're not having your head on a swivel. You're not able to see when we make this pass off, or you took a false step here and you constantly doing that. This is the time when they will evaluate that and work on that intentionally in their practices. So, again, they're very, very small, detail-oriented things, but ultimately they're going to come down and be very, very critical when you have high competition at the end of the season.
Doss, what do you got?
I think we got to just continue to deal with depth at quarterback.
Okay.
I mean, Justin, just get him healthy. This is a great week. He got bruised up a little bit, a little low back, little hip pointer, whatever you think it is. Get him together and just get some reps for our backup quarterbacks. Our secondary, our young guys throughout the organization, they'll get more reps, so they'll get a chance to get after it a little bit.
Too.
Keep them hungry, and let them know, hey, we got a couple more weeks, coming up. And guys, just preparing, just staying hungry, get in the classroom, knock out some tests, get some early assignments.
Yeah, catch up, man. Get on top of it.
Get on top of academics, man. That's what's important. You're here for education, and just enjoy the week off. You get the weekend off. It's Master McKinley week. For me,
I knew you needed it.
Kent McKinley, we got to represent this week. So
it's the deer rut this weekend. I mean,
these guys have their off day plans. Talking about staying hungry, it's my time to dig in here at Roosters on Lettermen Live. Appreciate everybody joining us as always every Monday. Spencer Holbrook, Anthony Schlegel, Mike Doss. I am just Austin Ward. We'll take this off day, enjoy it. Not a lot of great college football games on Saturday, but we'll be right back next week to preview Ohio State and Maryland. It's going to be at noon in the Horseshoe. We'll preview that at lettermenrow.com all next week, so stay tuned. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Go Pups this week. Let's go.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Lettermen Live, we've got the practice report, we got rapid reaction. Hey, and we got Buckeye IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Berm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.